listening to Reality Wrap. I'm your host, Melanie. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. Hey guys, hope you guys are all doing great out there. It's Friday, thank God. I've been up since 4:30. So I'm running on low energy today. So if I sound a little tired, it's because I am. Today I'm going to be recapping part 1 of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City reunion. Part 1 was pretty good. Normally, I feel like the first part of every reunion for all franchises starts off pretty slow, but there were some good things in this one. I'm not going to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. I'm just going to touch on the things that I found interesting. I thought the set did look good. I loved the theme. The ladies look good. Like I said, when their looks first came out, I wasn't really blown away by any of their dresses. And if I had to pick a favorite, it would have been Angie's. But Angie's dress looks more appropriate for a ball more than a reunion. Apparently, Angie and Brittany both showed up with the same dress. What are the chances of that? But either Brittany capitulated and said that she would wear a different dress, or maybe because Angie is an actual housewife and not a friend of. Maybe they were like, okay, you wear the dress you want. Who knows what happened? They didn't really say, but Angie wore the dress. Bronwyn's dress has these crazy big sleeves. Whitney even jokes about how she's not going to be able to see over them. I was not a fan of her dress. Apparently, it was some model's dress that she wore to the Met Gala, and she bought it, and they had it sized to her, but I don't know. I didn't like it. I was not a fan of Lisa's dress, which had fringe all over it. I think her dress was made more for standing up and not sitting down because fringe does not lay right when you're sitting. Mary looks like a superhero with these gold flames up her sleeves. And then she has this giant necklace on that almost looks like some type of armor. I don't know. She was rocking the superhero theme for me. I thought Heather's dress looked good. I mean, she looks great with all the weight that she's lost. Whitney looks good. Her dress kind of came off slutty, I guess, with the big slit up the side, but she kind of always wears stuff like that. Meredith's dress, I don't know, was okay. It wasn't anything memorable. I mean, they all looked great. Like their hair and their makeup was all awesome, but the dresses, not so much. So we start out right out of the gate with Whitney's Alibaba jewelry. She claims that the stock photo was just a placeholder from her vendor that was only on her website for 48 hours while they were doing the photo shoot for the jewelry. She says that she does not get her jewelry from Alibaba, that she has curated an affordable line, and she even has the tattoo to prove it. Whatever, it's still weird. Her vendor's photo was a photo that was the exact photo on Alibaba, so maybe she doesn't buy her jewelry directly from Alibaba, but maybe the vendor she buys her jewelry from gets it from Alibaba. Maybe Alibaba makes knockoff jewelry from the vendor Whitney buys it from. I don't know. I don't really care. I don't buy any of the Housewives products, so at the end of the day, it doesn't affect me. Lisa tells Whitney that the Alibaba story was already out there when she brought it up, and that she actually tried to defend Whitney. Whitney's like, well, you're the one who brought it on camera. That is not defending me. That's putting it out there. Meredith pipes up and tells her she was the one who brought it to the camera, which is how I remembered it when they were in Milwaukee. Meredith and Lisa were sitting in a hotel room, and Meredith brought it up. And then she told Heather because she thought that Whitney should know about it. She told Heather because she and Whitney were not speaking. Again, Whitney is really trying to nail this to Lisa when she wasn't even the one who originally brought it up. Meredith was. Andy asks Lisa if her cyber guy Sean was ever able to find anything on who actually put it out there, and Lisa's like, Whitney never gave me the proof for him to research. And Whitney tells her, well, you had his phone number, you should have just called him. And she's like, I don't have his phone number. And she's like, well, Meredith does. So again, her proof was just up and Adam, who has denied that he told Whitney that it was Lisa. He said that he told her he had no proof and that Whitney twisted it. So at the end of the day, Whitney has no proof, and once again, she looks stupid. We get a question for Angie asking if she feels like Heather prioritizes her friendship with Lisa over her, and she said she does, and that Heather twisted her words by saying that Angie said that Lisa was a bad mom, which, I mean, the insinuation was there. She didn't flat out call Lisa a bad mom, but we can all read between the lines, right? Lisa, of course, starts talking over Heather, saying that she said that I use electronics to babysit my son, and that's essentially saying I'm a bad mom. They start yelling over each other, and Andy has to shut them down. He tries saying their trigger words or their shutdown words, which were like what, Bezos and Oompa. And it didn't work. Finally, he yells and he shuts them down. I do think that there is validity to Angie saying that Heather prioritizes Lisa's friendship over hers. Heather has worked so hard to get up in Lisa's ass that she's going to do everything she can to stay up there. I mean, she is fully moved into it. Lisa tells Angie that she gave her a pass over the saying she's a bad mom. She had actually told Bronwyn she wanted to talk to Angie about it, but for whatever reason, Bronwyn went and told Angie that Lisa was upset before Lisa actually went and talked to her. Bronwyn tries to defend this by saying, well, I thought Angie should know, and if everybody else can repeat stories, then I can too. You want to get big with me? Let's get big. And I was like, the only thing big on you, Bronwyn, is those sleeves on your dress. I think what Bronwyn is actually missing is that Lisa and Angie were really close. They talked every day on the phone. Bronwyn was new to the group, so her going and telling Angie was not really in her place, and she was actually interfering in their friendship. Somehow we get onto the topic of Meredith saying that Angie was a backup dancer for Jen Shah's WAP TikTok. Angie tells Meredith that she is not a backup dancer for anyone, and she's pissed that Lisa chimed in under the tweet and she said mazel. I don't know. The whole thing was kind of stupid. Lisa then asks Angie why she tweeted that Lisa's G-Wagon was repossessed, and Angie's like, well, I heard it from somebody. And that somebody ended up being Bronwyn, who claims that she heard it from somebody else and that she repeated it to be snarky. So essentially the whole thing was made up. Her G-Wagon was not repossessed, and she showed photos of it in her garage. Again, just another instance of Bronwyn being two-faced. It's funny how much I liked Bronwyn at the beginning of this season. I thought she was so refreshing, but now after I've watched the whole season, and I have also seen Bronwyn walk back so much on Watch What Happens Live, I'm definitely like, okay, she is not the person she led us to believe. I did do an Instagram poll after the part 1 of this reunion asking, now that the season is over, do you feel like Bronwyn misrepresented herself in her first season? And 53% said she is fake, 11% said she is genuine, and 36% said she's misunderstood. So if you want to participate in that poll, go ahead and head over to my Instagram, Reality Rap Podcast. Personally, I do think that Bronwyn first came onto this season acting like she was above all this drama and was all about being honest, but her honesty really was just a disguise for her being two-faced. So I think she misrepresented herself. I won't flat out say that she's fake, but she definitely misrepresented herself. I also think she has a little bit of a problem exaggerating or bending the truth to make herself look better, and then for whatever reason she walks it back, and it's like she forgets that we actually saw her say one thing and now she's changing her story. And this next part of the reunion is where it really shows. Andy brings up the $4 million necklace and how he thought that she was going to wear it to the reunion, and she replies, I thought about it because it would clear up a lot of questions, pretty much implying that she had the necklace. Andy asks her what questions she was getting, and she's like, well, people were tweeting me and messaging me, asking me questions. Heather kind of eggs her on and says, well, what kind of questions were they asking you if you borrowed it? She starts to explain that she ended up buying a smaller version of the $4 million necklace and also a pair of hoop earrings. Lies. Lisa tells her, well, I'm friends with Emma, the jeweler, and she told me that you didn't buy anything and that you've never purchased anything from them. Bronwyn looks like a deer in the headlights because she was busted. Andy clarifies with her, so you purchased a smaller version of the necklace? And she says, yes. Again, lies. Lisa pulls out her phone and shows Andy a text where the jeweler said that Bronwyn said she was going to wire her money for the hoops, but ended up returning them. Bronwyn tries to double down and she says, next time I see you, Lisa, I'll wear them. And when I get home, I'll post photos of them, just like you posted photos of your clothes from the fashion show. Again, implying that she actually purchased these items. Here's the thing, though. Bronwyn went on to Watch What Happens Live, and she full-on admits that she bought nothing from this jeweler.
Seemed like Lisa had receipts from your jeweler regarding the necklace.
Yeah.
Have you spoken to the jeweler since the reunion?
Yeah, I also had my own receipts. The jeweler and I had been talking even like a day or two before the reunion about what they were making for me. The jeweler had made a little accusation that a journalist that she thought was Lisa was texting her. So I think you see in the reunion as Lisa's bringing this up that I'm kind of confused. Like, did the jeweler's person reach out to Lisa? Did Lisa reach out to them? Either way, it's real messy. I don't like it.
Well, what were your conversations?
So I told them right away, Todd felt like the necklace was much too flashy to be worn. There's some things that I felt on camera. It's just inappropriate to buy something in any economic climate, but especially in what we're going through right now. So we were talking about making something different, and I really wanted to be promoting the jeweler and helping them up until I heard what was going on at the reunion. And then, no, I have not bought anything from them and will not.
Okay.
No.
And so you don't have the necklace?
No.
Right. Okay. And then, but you said you made something instead. Did you wind up buying that?
I did not wind up buying that after what went down.
Good for
no.
you.
Mm-mm.
Got it.
So clearly, it's two different stories. At the reunion, she made it sound like she was in possession of these pieces of jewelry and that she was going to post them and wear them and all these other things. And on Watch What Happens Live, she says she purchased nothing. Personally, I think she filmed this $4 million necklace as a flex on the show, and the whole audience was pretty much like, no way did she buy that $4 million necklace. None of us really believed it. And that's why she was getting all those questions that she said she was getting. I think to save face, she came up with this alternate story of how she had a smaller version of the necklace made because of the economy and she didn't want to seem flashy or whatever. And then Lisa just totally pulled the rug out from underneath her. And it showed. It absolutely showed on her face. And then the way that they were trying to kind of blame the jeweler over the whole thing instead of the actual point was that she just flat out lied about buying this stuff. I don't know. I don't really care that the jeweler told Lisa. The jeweler was probably pissed because she was thinking she was going to make this money, and then she made nothing and just wasted a bunch of her time. So I kind of get why she reached out to Lisa. She knew she wasn't going to make any money off of Bronwyn, so she was like, I'm going to reach out to Lisa because I know she's on the show and I know Bronwyn's on the show and we filmed this for the show, and she probably knew that Lisa was going to call her out for it. We get a question from a viewer asking Bronwyn if she was disappointed coming on the show as Lisa's friend only to have her turn on Bronwyn, and Bronwyn's like, I came on the show thinking that me and Lisa were close friends, but then after seeing how Lisa is with Angie and Heather and how close they are, I realized that I was just more of a social friend with Lisa. And Lisa pretty much agrees and says, yeah, we're not that close. We're social friends. We're not in each other's everyday life. We don't confide in each other. It makes sense now as to why Lisa wasn't really sticking up for Bronwyn or taking Bronwyn's side when it came to the stuff going on between Bronwyn and Heather. We now get a comment from someone who feels like Heather's weight loss has made her meaner, and she denies this, and she's like, actually, I had more confidence in my first season when I was bigger. Losing weight had nothing to do with my confidence. I will say I do feel like Heather's ego has gotten bigger as the seasons have passed, but I don't think it has anything to do with her weight loss. I think it has more to do with the fame of the show and how the first couple of seasons, she really was everybody's favorite, and it went to her head, and now she's friends with Lisa, who, let's face it, her ego is enormous and she wears her ego like a badge. Maybe some of Lisa's ego has rubbed off on Heather, who knows, but Heather is definitely a different person now versus when she first came on the show. Maybe she'll do a little bit of self-reflecting after this last season, actually the last two seasons, because really it started last season. Maybe she'll go back to her roots a little bit. We now get to the discussion about how Lisa knew who Bronwyn's daughter Gwen's paternal grandparents were and that she actually is friends with them. Andy asks Bronwyn if she ever had the intention about talking about how Lisa knew who they were, and Bronwyn says no. And we see the flashback of where Lisa and Bronwyn are in that nail salon, and Lisa is explaining to Bronwyn that she is friends with Gwen's biological father's parents and how she used to see a picture of him in in their house when she would walk up the stairs. And then when Bronwyn showed a picture of Gwen's dad to Lisa, who she apparently hadn't even shown Todd, but she decided to show it to Lisa, Lisa recognized him and told her, hey, I know him. I'm friends with his parents. Apparently, Bronwyn actually asked production to take out this whole conversation of where Lisa was explaining that she knew Bronwyn's dad's parents. I don't know why that was such a big deal, because she had already talked about how Bronwyn's dad wasn't involved in her life on camera back when her and Todd were at lunch, and he actually tried to shut the conversation down. So I don't know why she would want the part where Lisa ended up knowing the paternal grandparents taken out. It's not like Lisa said the name, or if she did, they clearly cut it out. So I don't know why that was such a big deal. Bronwyn tells us that she thought she could confide in Lisa about Gwen's grandparents not wanting to be in Gwen's life, and she couldn't believe that Lisa told the story on the after show where Gwen's grandparents thought that Bronwyn had a miscarriage and that there was no child, but that they were open to meeting her. I don't know why Lisa thought it was okay to talk about this without Bronwyn present. Maybe she thought it was okay because Bronwyn was already talking about Gwen's father not being in her life on camera. We had already seen how her and Lisa had a conversation about how the grandparents thought she had a miscarriage, but Bronwyn's dad apparently called them and let them know that they did have a grandchild, and Bronwyn never heard from them. Bronwyn accuses Lisa of saying she faked a miscarriage, and Lisa's like, I didn't say you faked it. I just said that Gwen's parents thought you had a miscarriage. Either way, Lisa should have backed down, because at the end of the day, this is about a young girl who never got to know her biological father, and now there's all this drama around it. There's really only one person I feel bad for, and that is Gwen. Honestly, I feel like Bronwyn shouldn't have even brought this whole conversation to the show. She should have never said anything about her daughter's father not being involved in her life. Now I understand why Todd was trying to shut it down. We see them break for lunch, and we hear everybody talking in their dressing room. Lisa's crying to John that Bronwyn has been coming for her all season, which I agree now that I've seen the full season. Heather is annoyed with Bronwyn and feels like Bronwyn is running for political office. Bronwyn is talking to Todd, and she tells him that she needs some backup and pretty much implies that Lisa used her to socially climb. I mean, we could kind of say the same thing about Bronwyn getting on the show through Lisa. Lisa actually came out and said that she was the one who brought Bronwyn onto the show, as well as a bunch of other people. So, I mean, it was kind of a symbiotic relationship, no? They come back from lunch, and now the men are on stage, except for Mary's husband. Andy asks her why he's not there, and she's like, he wants no part of this show, and he is happy with his life the way it is. I honestly wonder how much these two actually talk. Didn't she say that her husband spent most of their time at their Las Vegas house? She's probably glad that he wasn't on the show. Honestly. They start with a question for Todd about if Bronwyn was nervous about Todd being on the show when he was so blunt. Bronwyn actually answers the question first, and she tells us that after watching the season, before the season, she thought that they had a good relationship, but then after they watched it back, she actually thinks their relationship is better because after watching herself, she realizes that she was talking a certain way to Todd, and so she was able to self-reflect and actually change the way she talks to him and about him. She doesn't really answer the question. She kind of just talks around it. Todd answers that there were people on the show who didn't even know him, who were talking about him. I'm assuming he's implying Heather and Heather's obsession with the fact that they didn't have a prenup and how she thought that was stupid. Todd does say that Bronwyn and he have a good relationship, and like everybody else, they have ups and downs. Andy asks him if there were subjects that were supposed to be off limits when he agreed to come on the show.
Were you, when she joined the show, was there anything off limits?
Well, we said a couple things are off limits. Bronwyn's daughter, Gwendolyn, who I've been with for 10 years.
Yeah.
She's 18. I've been with her the majority of her life. So bringing up issues that were very personal and very sensitive to her was completely unacceptable to me, almost to the point of being libelous in what was asserted.
Who brought it up?
Your wife.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did.
She didn't.
He's talking about the after show and what was said on the after show.
Lisa didn't bring it up. Bronwyn brought it to the camera.
Okay, I don't want to relitigate this argument.
But Todd, I get where you're coming from. He's talking about the after show, saying the miscarriage is
Let me be
too
clear
far.
about something.
It is.
You asserting Bronwyn had a miscarriage, which was why...
Watch your tone.
I'm not watching my
Watch your
tone.
tone.
Watch your
All
tone.
right. Okay.
No,
Okay.
watch your tone.
Okay.
So Todd does say right out of the gate that Gwen was supposed to be off limits. Bronwyn brought her up, which is why we saw him shut her down at that lunch, way before any of this stuff with Lisa came out. So I see what John was doing. I think he was preemptively trying to get it out that Bronwyn was the one who initially brought up Gwen's biological father not being in her life before Todd could accuse Lisa of bringing it up. And I do agree with John about Bronwyn being the first one to bring it up on camera, but it was not Lisa's story to tell on the after show about Gwen's parents thinking she had a miscarriage. And I think John was a little too quick to tell Todd to watch his tone. Todd was just trying to explain how he was feeling about Lisa telling the story how the grandparents thought that she had miscarried, and John had to hulk out and say that, which is funny because when Todd told him in Palm Springs that Lisa needed to stop talking or he was going to ask them to leave, John ran away to find Lisa with his tail between his legs. I can't wait for the rest of the reunion. It looks like it's going to be really good. I also forgot to mention at the beginning of this recap that the whole cast has been asked back for season 6 in the same capacity as they are in now, meaning Brittany is still a friend of, and I guess they start filming sometime in February. So that's good to know. This season was really good, so I think they should keep the cast exactly how it is. And I think there's enough drama that went on in this season that will probably roll over into the next season. Anyways, that is all I have for you guys. I will be back next week with my recap of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, so I will talk to you guys then. Have a great weekend. Bye.